What's going on, boys and girls? I want to give you, let's say, 5 fragrances that I've got in heavy rotation this summer and my thoughts in terms of how I approach wearing summer fragrances. Because as you guys know, we all live in different places, different climates. I'm going to tell you where I live, the weather that I deal with, and the 5 bangers that I bring out to, stand out from the rest. Strap up. All right, welcome to the scent bubble. I'm your host for we're approaching the evening. Okay, let's talk about summer fragrances. I want to talk in context with where I'm from and what I do, but hopefully you guys can get some solid takeaways from this regardless of where you live. And I would also love to hear in the comment section, where are you from and what are some of the fragrances that you break out during the summer? Let's get a conversation going. I always love seeing what the community actually looks like and what the community is wearing, because I hope at the end of the day, what you'll see is that in this community, everything's not black and white. Everybody has different styles, preferences. Everybody's at a different level in their journey, and we all like different stuff. There's nothing worse than looking out into FragCom as it relates to YouTube or anything and just seeing a lot of the same thing. It puts pressure on you that's unnecessary and makes you feel like if you're not doing what the in crowd is doing or what the majority is doing, that you're just simply not having a cool journey or maybe not an authentic journey. I'm here to let you know that wherever you are in your journey, you are in the right place at the right time. But hopefully this video gives you a couple of things to be equipped with. So what do summers look like in Arizona? 100 plus Fahrenheit. I remember for about 3.5 months last year, we set a record of most consecutive days above, I think, 115. It gets really hot here. And so weather north of 100 degrees is crazy. I always compare it to, it's like somebody's holding a magnifying glass. You remember how you used to put the magnifying glass down and let the sun shine through it and you could burn ants and different things like that. It's dry heat, and people have their debates on what's worse, right? Living down south in a weather like Houston or New Orleans, high humidity, slightly cooler, but high humidity, or super hot, no humidity. I always say it's like 2 different versions of hell. You know what I'm saying? Both suck, and having a preference towards one or the other doesn't change the fact that it's undesired. But so I say that because there's different advantages and whatnot to there being no moisture in the air. And I think everybody's approach, even in Arizona, is a bit different in terms of what our collections look like dealing with high heat in the summer. I'm going to show you guys 5, even though you guys know I have hundreds of fragrances. So we'll probably turn this into a part series of all the different things I wear. But I think you guys know a lot of the stuff that I gravitate towards on this channel. And so every time I do an episode, if there's an opportunity to showcase other fragrances to you, for the sake of not always just showing you guys my top 5s and top 10s and all that, because it's constantly changing, I try to bring variety to the channel. And so don't look at these 5 fragrances as the best of the best to SB during summer. Look at them more as fragrances that SB deeply admires and fully is breaking out during the summer. And there's some of many that I will bust out. Okay. Let's touch on a few different areas. For summer fragrances, I wrote down for myself kind of ideas and concepts of perfume that I go after when I'm dealing with high, dry heat. So I'm looking for fragrances personally that smell like fresh air, even in Arizona, surprisingly, for how dry it is, the heat has a weight to it. It's not dense, sticky, moist weight like humidity down south, but it's a heat that is so hot, it's like a hot, pillowy cloud of more heat that just envelops you. Like the moment you go outside, you just feel the air just woo, You know, you've got hot pillows all around you. And so fresh air is always desired in my fragrances around this time of the year. Also, fresh greens, something that is refreshing, crisp. Um, yeah, refreshing would be the word. You know, greens also just kind of remind you of the air and the outdoors, you know, kind of diffuses the heat, I find is what vegetal and green scents also do. I'm looking for fresh citrus because, you know, when it's hot, you want a cold drink. And what's better than a cold drink? You know, splash of lemon. You know, in Arizona, there's nothing better than, you know, ice water with lemon or cucumber ice water or something like that. I mean, shoot, I'm the type of guy, I'm at an age where I don't drink soda, rarely drink Gatorades and stuff like that. For me, it's like water and coffee. So sometimes and I also, you know, press juices, but there's nothing more refreshing outside than a cold glass of water than to like try to infuse other stuff. Like I might have a pitcher and infuse orange in my water or lemon or lime or mint leaves, you know, just various things like that are just so refreshing during the summer. I also go for woods. And that might surprise some of you guys during the high heat. Why would you wear something extremely woody? Isn't that dense? Isn't that thick? Well, no, I approach soft woods, you know, so I go for a woody scent that's very diffusive and airy and that can be quite nice. And I'll show you some examples of that. I also go for ozonic profiles that imitate kind of atmospheric air, you know, and it's kind of hard to describe that. It's it's the kind of scent where, let's say, you're standing near a river and the river is flowing and it's pushing air around and you get kind of this nature air quality. Or if you were in space and you've got the atmosphere of space, the air would be slightly different. Or you're around a lot of rocks and so the air around you is mineralic. You know, these are what I think of as far as ozonics. And so like fresh, interesting air is a dope profile to go after in high heat. Kind of is like fresh air, but a little bit more interesting. But I think they capture a briskness that just fresh air doesn't quite capture. Also, herbal, minty, or tea-like scents can be very, like, you know, like a deep breath. You know, they're almost therapeutic. They're crisp. They're invigorating. They're refreshing. It's just like it's refreshing, but it's a different type of refreshment, and I get that through herbalish, tea-ish, and you know, minty, eucalyptic type scents. The feeling of cold air or crispness and herbals, where the vegetal kind of adds another gust to diffuse hot air, and then lastly, musk. Light, airy musks that kind of have a slight sweet, pure air type of crispness to them. Musks are a great way to get lift out of your fragrance and kind of diffuse that thick, hot air and bring you refreshment as you're wearing your fragrance. Okay, with all that out of the window, all of those ideas I tried to incorporate into my 5 selections, and let me see how far we're in. In typical SB fashion, we are 8 minutes in and I haven't showed you guys a fragrance. So let's change that. First fragrance of the day, I want to go back and pay homage. Haven't talked about this one in a while, but man, I still wear it quite a bit. This is Emir Celestial. Hey, last time you guys saw SB show you this fragrance was before we went to 4K resolution. So shout outs to that. And what are we talking about here? This is an inspiration of Ganymede. It's the best inspiration of Ganymede to me personally. It is classified as a remix to Ganymede by about 20 to 25%. But the change that they made, I think, was absolutely necessary to making a more understandable mass appeal fragrance. Ganymede is in a very ninja-like quality, very heavy. You can really easily overspray and choke people out. It is a mineralic, suedish, ozonic, violet leafish experience. It's slightly sweet. It's slightly dense. Some would say powdery. Some would just say dense. It's heavily mineralic, suede, clean, fresh suede. It's elemental. It's outdoorish. It's a very dope scent. But because of all of those descriptions, it can be a scent profile that's just odd for some people. Like there's no connection point to it. So it tends to be a scent that collectors and enthusiasts gravitate towards. But people out in the general public, it might not be a fragrance you get a ton of compliments on unless a person enjoys that type of profile, which seems like a minority few. But what I love about Emir from Paris Corner Celestial is that Ganymede leans on the elemental ozonicness, kind of that river rock type of profile in the ozonics. And this Celestial leans more on the soft iris sweet violet leafish experience and the suede. So it's kind of a role reversal where all that elemental ozonicness goes in the background by about either 60-40 or 70-30. And so you just get this like soft, slight powdery, sweet, airy suede. And then a lot of this elemental background that just lifts it up. I always say this fragrance smells like you fell asleep at heaven's gates and the decision is about to be made whether they open the gates to you or not. And that air just smells royal and heavenly. This is an incredibly refreshing scent. The ozonic nature to it almost functions like mint without the bite. It's this lifting air, and there's got to be musk in here, but it's just a very clean, royal, fresh, heavenly scent. And there's really nothing like it. And it makes Ganymede way more mass appealing. Again, first fragrance, Paris Corner's Emir Facet, and this is Celestial. Next, let's go into slight vegetal aquatic crisp fragrances. A lot of you guys have heard of Joop, or most of you guys out there would say Joop fragrances. I'm not a fan of most of them, even though some of them are considered hood classics by most collectors. The first fragrance I ever came across that made me even bat an eye and just be like, wow, I should start taking this brand more seriously, is this vintage fragrance right here that many of you have never heard of. This is Joop's What About Adam? And there's a lot to be said about this fragrance. It smells nothing like a lot of the Joop fragrances you guys have tried. It is aquatic. It is airy, fresh tart citric, vegetal. And vegetal is not saying much because it doesn't smell like veggies or lettucey or cucumberish or anything like that. It's in the background, and it just kind of has this air that, if you've ever been to like a farm or a place where vegetables are grown or anything is grown in the ground and you kind of smell the ground, it's got this like crisp lettuce airness that, and sometimes it can be quite vegetal, but in this case it's very airy and diffusive. It's got that sitting behind a backbone of floral citric crispness. And so I get like a very almost lemony grapefruit crisp fresh air with this backbone of airy lettuce. It's very light. The lettuce isn't heavy, but it's just a refreshing air that puts like a fresh air greenness behind a rich, robust citric experience. So it's very unique. In fact, I think there's tomato leaf in this fragrance, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually going to look that up. I think that is what I'm smelling here. I've never been a huge fan of tomato leaf at all. I'm quite repulsed towards that note, but I think this is also the first instance of tomato leaf that I actually, was like, whoa, wait a second, this did something to me. Okay, so listen to these notes for this fragrance. And this is truly what you get on the top of this fragrance and most of it. Tomato leaf, grapefruit, mint, cassia, lemon. And then that sits on a bed of vanilla, oak moss, vetiver, and labdanum. So it's a very heady, airy, crisp sensation, but I think it creates an extremely unique scent. I don't think everybody would fall in love with this, but if you're looking for a unique citric green earthy fragrance, this is airy and watery, and it's just an incredible experience. Definitely one of Joop's most unique creations. Again, this is What About Adam, and this works beautifully in the heat, just to diffuse the hot air. Next, let's talk about clean, pure air and the smell of that. Um, this fragrance is awesome. It's very affordable. I think Celestial you can get today for about 20, 30 bucks. Joop is a vintage discontinued fragrance, so the pricing is really all over the place. If you're on my Discord, I show you how to get fragrances like this all day long for under like 25 bucks. I think I paid $5 for mine, which is insane and unheard of, and you probably will never find. But I think you can typically get it anywhere between 20 to 100 bucks, depending on where the market is and who has it. But this next fragrance is, to me, the purest air you could smell, and that is Aqua de Parma's Colonia Pura. Let me tilt it a little bit. There you go. This fragrance smells like musky, ozonic fresh air. And it's like it's mostly a ozonic white musk, right? So just a cold, fresh air that's slightly sweet, like the tiniest 1 or 2 out of 10 sweet. And then the atmosphere of its airiness has, it's not dryer sheetish. It's more like white floral, maybe some orange, and I don't know, like a green note or something. Like just the tiniest splashes for sweetness, for a little citricness, but it's mostly an ozonic white musk air. It is just the smell of purity to me. If you ever just want to smell clean but have some swag to it, this is a much more elevated experience than like a CK1, a CK Everyone, a 90 Pure White from Banana Republic. Those are all great smells, but they are quite simple. This is sophisticated air in a bottle. And if you ever just want to smell fresh, but also a little bit unique, a little bit above the rest of everybody else in terms of actually smelling like something instead of just clean, this is a great signature scent, because I will tell you, I get insane amounts of compliments from this. And I don't think they're complimenting me even knowing that they're complimenting the fragrance, because it almost doesn't even smell like a fragrance. And yet the smell of it is just like, puts people in a good mood. Man, you are super fresh, you are super clean, and you kind of smell like it's good, So Colonia Pura, you can get between 60 and 100 bucks. I think I even nabbed mine for like 50 bucks. But man, for 100 mil, there's not many fragrances in your collection that hit this profile with the level of quality that Aqua de Parma has. They kind of have this Mediterranean coastal vibe going. And so when it comes to, citrus, florals, oceanic, seaside, ozonic, fruit, light, crisp fruits, they bring something to perfumery that they bring a style to those things that not many people have figured out yet. And so they're very signature in their approach to perfumery, and refreshing scents is something that they've just mastered to a science. And I also find that Colonia Pura, despite over 80% of the fragrances from Aqua de Parma, performs quite well if you're willing to overspray. It does go the distance. And the other two fragrances are great performers in and of themselves. That was Aqua de Parma's Colonia Pura. You can get it at the low for somewhere between 50 to 60 bucks, and it is incredible, insane value. As an entry-level fragrance to Aqua de Parma, I think it's a no-brainer for everybody, completely unisex. I also want to say that one of the best things that you can do in your collection when it comes to summertime heat is invest in oils to increase longevity. There is something about the hot summer air that, how do I approach this? Heat can take an indoor fragrance that smells really good and amplify the projection of any scent. So in the presence of heat, a lot of times your fragrances that are really smooth on your skin will get ramped up and amplified in its projection outdoors. And because it gets ramped up and amplified by the heat, it screws with the longevity. So it makes the fragrance go out quicker because it's just pulling that fragrance up, right? So one of the best things you can do to control your fragrance basically being pulled off your skin quicker in the heat is invest in highly concentrated oils, oils that can hold up for 8+ hours. And a lot of people kind of diffuse and dilute their oils. They'll take a jar of oil and bust it down 1/3, 2/3 of what it is to kind of like double or triple the amount. So a lot of times with roll-ons, you get very diluted oils that really don't last that long. But I would invest in an oil company that's been around for at least 20, 30 years and has a really reliable supplier and somebody who's known to not dilute their oils. Get a oil and look at the oil here. Watch when I turn this. Look how sticky this is. Do you see how slow it's like a lava lamp? This is the most concentrated oil you can find. And believe it or not, on skin, it's not that sticky. It literally works and feels like most oils, but it just lasts forever. I say all that to say, invest in Egyptian musk. Egyptian musk is one of the nicest, clean, sweet airs. It's similar to Colonia Pura in terms of its profile. It's a little bit different, but it just lifts fragrances up off of your skin and puts them in the air and diffuses them. It's clean and slightly sweet, so it can go with just about any fragrance to not only enhance projection, but also to hold the fragrance longer so that you get longevity out of your fragrance in high heat, because the heat tends to break a fragrance down. Yeah, you get the ramped up projection. So a lot of times when it does that, a fragrance can become harsh all of a sudden. So you're going to have to play with what your environment looks like and what you wear. But having Egyptian musk on hand and just putting that under just about every fragrance you have in the high heat will increase the longevity of the performance and hold on to those molecules a little bit longer and control the fragrance a bit. And it's super affordable. Even just a 10 or 15 ml will last you an eternity, and it's insanely affordable. Again, the caveat is just make sure the oil person that you're dealing with does not dilute their oils, so you can truly one of the resources I deal with, the guy says, if this fragrance doesn't last all day, I'll give you your money back. So deal with someone like that. But Egyptian musk specifically, because it's so versatile, if you're going to mess with oils at all, have some Egyptian musk in your arsenal and throw that under everything I've named today, including your fragrances, and see how it impacts the wearing experience. Okay, number 4, and we're close to wrapping up here. Let's talk about dry woods. Dry, airy, light woods. A lot of people sleep on this, but this is a hood classic, super affordable fragrance, Bentley. Let's talk about Bentley Absolute. I think a lot of you guys don't wear stuff like this during the high heat summer, but you forget. This fragrance is a little bit incensey, a little bit smoky, super airy and crisp and light though. It's just woods. It's like woods, splash of incense, splash of smoke, but it's a very clean, dry experience with a lot of airy lift to it. What's great about a fragrance like this is it's different. It's something people normally wouldn't wear. And it's simple. And it's just beautiful. Light, airy woods with a little bit of smoke under it is beautiful. It's almost like the driest, cleanest incense possible. It's that type of smell. And it comes off very masculine and sophisticated. For $20, you can get something like this, 100 ml. And this is high class, guys. I mean, you will feel like a man, any age. Again, I'll go through the age for these when we wrap up. But, talk about a super slept on juice, man. I mean, if you're a man above 25, put this in your collection. A lot of stuff that you have won't smell like this. This is simple, but an elevated, sophisticated, soft, woody experience with some smoke. And not only a work fragrance, a formal fragrance, but also just a summertime, clean, masculine man. It's amazing. Now, I will say for all my niche lovers out there, if you want this fragrance in a super elevated niche level, but smells exactly like this profile, just more richness, more depth, same profile, Get into Javois, and this is very hard to pronounce. This is La Liturgie des Ores. And I'm sure this is French, so the fact that I'm trying to put a little Spanglish on it is ridiculous. But just copy that title that you see there. Again, these fragrances will be in the description below for your convenience. This fragrance smells just like this fragrance, just a significant upgrade in richness and depth, but it is still a dry, woody, slightly incensey, smoky experience. This is like smelling the best airy, crisp, woody incense possible. You know, it's almost like an incense in an old cathedral church building, but it has an airiness that makes it feel super modern and not sticky, heavy, and old, like church pew seats or something like that. It's a very lifted, clean, airy experience that is considered a soft wood, slight smoky fragrance. Incredible, men. Have a fragrance like that in your bag and be confident enough to wear it. I totally love wearing that in the summer. Not necessarily an outdoor fragrance for me. I'm mostly indoors, but that one is just a soft, woody fragrance can't be matched. Most people wouldn't dare to touch that. And so you can get some real estate. And lastly, to wrap up the fifth fragrance, gosh, we're already at 26 minutes for a 5 fragrance video. What's wrong with you? The last fragrance, I mean, you can literally wear this 4 seasons, but in the summertime, I specifically love how it attacks the summertime, especially in high heat. It is just a Swiss Army knife, highly versatile fragrance. And when you smell it, you'll go, whoa, yeah, that's it. This is my brand new fragrance. Can you see it? I know April Fool's is over, guys. But yes, if this bad boy was out and if I had announced it, I would have totally put this in rotation. This is one of my fragrances, boys and girls. But I've intentionally removed all labels so that I could just play this joke on you guys, just so you know it is here, but it is still being perfected. But this is an incredible fragrance for all 4 seasons. But summertime, it kills. We'll talk about it later, but I just wanted to give you guys a teaser of what's to come this year. No announcements yet. Don't ask me, SB, when's it dropping. I just wanted to put the news out there that this is something you're going to highly anticipate. But the real fragrance that I wanted to show you for slot number 5 and what we will close with is crisp, green, clean, fancy Houbigant's Fougere Royale. This fragrance smells like cold hard cash laying on a bed. It is a beautiful, clean, crisp, sharp, leafy green, all the best leafy greens you can think of in the world tied into a fragrance. But the fanciness, the fancy, airy, crisp finish on this is masculinity, the epitome of masculinity. When you stare at a man, this is what you want him to look like and smell like. And again, it smells like money. So what I'm really speaking to is that it is pure masculinity in a bottle with the highest showcase. The finish, the balance, the texture. It just has everything you want a masculine fragrance to have, and yet it floats on skin and lasts forever. Ingredient-wise, it has all of the fundamental fragrances that we've seen in our traditional masculine fragrances, but it's done to such a perfection that it's utterly timeless. Now, I will say, when we get to the age category for this, this is going to... A lot of you young guys out there are not ready for a fragrance of this caliber, but you will grow into it, so you should get it. And you should at least get it on your nose to wrap your head around what pure masculinity looks like. This fragrance is absolutely incredible. It's the genesis of all Fougere fragrances. Again, this fragrance is based on a formulation that took place a long time ago. And this fragrance was made to smell like the concept of what a fern would smell like, which obviously coined the term fougere, which just means the fern. And all Fougere fragrances come after this one. This is the genesis. And surprisingly, it smells like it was made yesterday. If somebody made this yesterday, I'd buy a bottle of it immediately. It is money in a bottle. Don't listen to people who say, you know, fragrances like Eau Sauvage and a lot of this stuff is the smell of money and old world class and all that. No, this trumps them all. Trust me. This kind of represents, you know, a slight citric, but mostly sharp, green, clean, cold, hard cash outdoor. It represents the outdoors done fancy. It's like a suit and tie wrapped around the outdoors in a bottle. And it's majestic, man. Super high signature scent worthy. You still get your oak moss and stuff in there. So it's just got girth to it that literally lets it last all day. It sings off skin. It's fancy, it's royalty, it's classy, it's everything a woman wants a man to be, captured in a scent, and the balance is utter perfection. This is probably the most expensive fragrance on the list, pushing about $250 to $300. And you guys know the story. I somehow managed to get this fragrance sealed for $8. God is good. God is very good. This fragrance is worth every penny to me. Especially all you niche lovers out there, that price point is not that intimidating, but I hope you guys get the chance to put your nose on a scent like this one day. If you ever hated Fougere fragrances, start here and go from there. So that wraps up our 5. Let's talk about age real quick, and then we will sign off. So let's go ahead and transition for my outro. So first fragrance, we have Emir Paris Corners Celestial. And I truly think this is ageless. Then we have Joop's What About Adam? And I think this is quite mature because of the tomato leaf. It's a scent profile that is mostly citric and grapefruitish, but it does have a significant background of that kind of vegetalness. Again, I compared it to lettuce, but the tomato leaf does kind of twang it up a little bit. So I would say, if you've been smelling unique fragrances for a while and you've tried a bunch of fragrances, I would say this is probably 30 and up. But if you're an ambitious 20-year-old who's not intimidated by slightly unique scents, at least get your nose on it. You might grow into it. Next up, we have an ageless, perfectly unisex scent, Aqua de Parma Colonia Pura. And I honestly think this is a his and hers. Men and women can equally enjoy this. And it's virtually ageless to me. It's clean, pure, fresh, ozonic air with a little bit of citrus, white florals, and goodness trapped in the background. You know, it's clouds in a bottle with some swag. Then, if you're a mature man, I think this is easily 30 and up, or ambitious 25 and up, masculine men. Soft woods and incense smoke in a bottle. This is Bentley Absolute. And then lastly, number 5, Kill in the Summer, we have not my fragrance. We have Houbigant's Fougere Royale, tackling the fresh greens, tart, sharp fragrance that just cuts through the heat. Heat can't do nothing with this. Houbigant's Fougere Royale, which I think, because of how royal and rich with depth it smells, realistically 30 and up, my men. If you're an ambitious 20-year-old who is working his own job, doing the best to pay his own bills and trying to go somewhere in life, you can wear this when you dress up and it will make you feel extremely manly and feel like you're going to a path of success. I hope these 5 fragrances for summer are something that you guys are interested in or curious about. I definitely encourage you to try before you buy, but these are 5 of many fragrances that I have in constant rotation, and I highly respect these fragrances for the versatility and things that they offer and how well they can hold up in the Arizona plus 100 heat. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys have been rocking. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. Talk to me. I do talk back. Join the free Discord server. We're almost at 100 people, which is where where we will cap off, and announcements and exclusives and things like that, just like this bad boy, get announced in there constantly. So if you want to be in the know with some of the more active community, definitely check out that link in the description. But outside of that, I hope you guys enjoyed my 5 fragrances for summer. Hope you stay blessed, and until next time, peace.